Report, Apple struggled to develop micro LED technology led to iPhone 10 changes and reliance on Samsung. Excuse me, Samsung? Yeah, it's Tim here. Listen. We're going to need to get back together. We're going to need to rekindle. Because this display stuff is hard.
Yeah, who knew?
This display stuff is hard over here. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me before when you were charging me all this money for it and I was negotiating and you could have just said it was hard? Apple has heavily invested in developing its own micro LED tech. And we talked about upcoming OLED stuff as well. For almost a decade to break away from Samsung as a supplier. This is according to the information, which is one of Will's favorite publications. Also, sometimes he misinterprets it as an actual headline. I don't know if anyone remembers back to that moment.
Yeah.
Apple's micro LED displays have reportedly taken much longer to develop than expected, forcing it to deepen its ties with Samsung until the technology is ready. Micro LED offers better durability, efficiency, brightness, dynamic range, and viewing angles compared to existing technologies like OLED. I don't know if I agree to all those things, do I? Dynamic range? Better than OLED? I mean, micro LED is obviously an improvement over just typical LED, but I put it toe-to-toe with OLED. And Apple apparently planned to use micro LED rather than OLED for 2017's iPhone 10, but its high manufacturing costs and potential for defects led to the switch to the new display technology being pushed further down the pipeline. Apple still purportedly plans to introduce its first micro LED displays on the Apple Watch next year, with the panels likely to be supplied by LG and Sharp rather than Samsung. The company originally planned to introduce the first Apple Watch with a micro LED display this year, but it again faced difficulties bringing the technology to market. A lot of the stuff with these displays has to do with manufacturing defects and yield at massive scale and timing and just, well, tremendous expertise, Will. Mm-hmm. You got to have tremendous expertise to pull this stuff off at scale, and you can hit the Samsung speed dial, and they'll be like, "We'll take care of that." And it's got to be appealing to a company that has to meet some crazy delivery criteria for volume. Holiday season coming up, and they're like, we're going to need 2 million of these things. We can't afford to fail, and we need to have reliable costs. And it highlights the integration here. It highlights the necessary relationships in the space to make the products you love happen. Now, Apple has sought for a while to own as much of the internal components inside of your mobile devices, including their own silicon now and whatever else. And so you have to assume they would love to absorb this role and no longer be lining Samsung's pockets, who could be perceived is a competitor in some sense. But the struggle will remain because of the fact that this happens to be one of Samsung's core competencies, and they're relied upon by a variety of manufacturers, not just Apple, to be the best in this category.
And LG is making their own micro LED technology too, right?
Micro or mini? Micro.
Isn't it micro?
Oh, we're talking micro. Lovely.
Yeah.
Micro is way better than mini.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you knew that, Will.
And
you know what's better than micro? Nano.
That's coming up, right?
You go mini, micro, nano. And somebody in the chat can let me know what comes after nano. Remember the iPod Nano?
Yeah.
This is when the particles shrink.
It's a great device.
iPod Nano?
Yeah.
You had one?
No.
What were you doing? A couple push-ups and jumping jacks at the gym with your iPod Nano? I could just picture it. You probably had the arm strap.
There were many variations, right?
Yeah. But I was talking about the OG, the original
Is it this one?
No, it was the one that scratched a lot. It was the one that had the chrome on the back. You see it on the far left, 2005. So it had that mirror finish, polished stainless steel back, which got scratched up like crazy. There wouldn't be an inch unscratched. I think there might have been a class action.
Really?
On that baby. And you're just scrolling through with the click wheel. You remember the simpler times, Will, before you were bombarded by social media smacking you in the mouth 24/7? yelling and screaming at you, and all you were doing was like selecting the next track, or even being more spontaneous or more loose with it and just letting it randomly select the next song.
Yeah, those were the good old days.
Holy man. I remember that. That was an odd noise my thing made there. You hear that? Nobody likes that noise.
You need some WD-40 there, bud.
Dub D.